انا سانينا لايف في فيسبوك. داير نقول للناس اللي ينضموا لنا فيسبوك ويوتيوب، دايرين نتواصل في النقاش بتاعتنا عبر الكلاب هاوس، ونخلي الناس، لانه ده قضايا مهمه طرحناها الليله في النقاش، عشان برضه نحاول نسجل نقاط بتاعت باقي الناس التانيين، ان نكونوا لايف for the next 2 hours او ساعتين ونص، لانه برضه انا بكون لي زمن شغال بكره. فتشيجا مرحبا بك، واصل لنا لايف في فيسبوك ويوتيوب.
All right, thank you, Bashmahadis. What the rest of moderators, Makangi, Ring, those who have just joined us, Dr. Haj, Jacob, Omar, and our audience who are listening to Clubhouse, and those who are following Facebook and other media outlets. Thank you very much for this room. I think it is important for us when there's an issue like that for us at least to come and digest it, from different angles. So that's why it is very important for us to come, and discuss such issues. You talked about 5 or 6 issues, points: land grabbing, land issue, and then water supply, or water plant in Juba, the fighting in Mugre area, then the issue in Bar Ghazal, governor, the former governor of Western Bar Ghazal. But I have just few points that I will address them, and then we'll move on, because also I have to give chance to others to add their opinion, because it is very important. First of all, you posed a very important question earlier, which is pivotal to me or central to our discussion. And the question was why we went to Bush in 1983. I think if we answer properly, then we'll be able to address the rest of the issues that are facing us today. To me, why we went to the Bush in 1983? Of course, a simple answer could be because of injustice, like we mentioned, and it is true. Southerners went to the Bush, they took up arms to fight against injustice meted on them by the regime in Khartoum. But now let me say this, Brother Edward and the listeners. Did all South Sudanese who went to the Bush, they went against injustice? I think that is a question that also we need to answer. It seems like not everybody who went to the Bush, they went because of certain grievances. I personally will categorize it into 2. The first category went to the Bush because of personal issues. For instance, some of them embezzled money from the government, running from the law. Some of them were murderers. Some of them committed different sorts of crime. Some of them, like the pastoralists, they went there to protect their cattle against other communities who were perceived to be their enemies, etc. And the other group, I honestly believe they went to the Bush because they feel that or at least there was injustice meeting on them by the regime in Khartoum. So these are 2 groups. That's how I categorize them. And unfortunately, the group that is ruling now in South Sudan, they belong to the first category. They don't care about the masses. They don't care about the people of South Sudan. As manifested by their behavior. The way we look at it right now, no development, no security, tribal clashes, etc., fueled by the regime in Cuba. So, to me, those who are in South Sudan right now, they didn't go to Bush because of they are enjoying it, stealing public money, enriching themselves, Some of them could be billionaires, God knows, they have nice houses abroad, etc., etc. And they don't want to give up power. They don't want democratic transformation in South Sudan. So that answers the question why people want to push 1983. Now, let me touch upon the issue of land issue in the whole South, and particularly in Juba and other big cities. I used to, between 2008 and until beginning of 2017, I was working with South Sudan Land Commission. We came across a lot of issues or problems of land grabbing in the whole South, but particularly in Juba. We used to deal with it from time to time, but because the mandate of the commission is not to allocate land, allocation of land is solely the responsibility of Ministry or State Minister of Physical Infrastructure. The role of the commission is just to advise various levels of government, national, state, and county governments. But I used to interact with the local or State Minister of Physical Infrastructure. Sometimes, we meet with the ministers, directors, etc., etc. So I am familiar with what is happening regarding the issue of land. Yes, I agree with you and others. There is a corruption within this Ministry of Physical Infrastructure since 2005, but I don't want to go back there. And also the issue of land grabbing, because Juba being the capital, and thousands of South Sudanese, those who are not originally from Juba, of course, they all came to Juba. Some of them for jobs, some of them just out of curiosity, they want to be in the capital. So now there was too much pressure, to find accommodations. And some of them resorted to land grabbing by force. And I have witnessed that with my own eyes in 2007. I can give a variety of examples. Like you said, yes, there are a lot of generals, and particularly they come from one ethnic group. Mostly then, we cannot turn a blind eye and say, it doesn't happen. For instance, I was born and raised in Haikato. I am community. And I remember want houses to other brothers, particularly from the Dinka community, for a variety of reasons, And we stated those reasons earlier. Only that, when SPLA entered Juba in 2005, Kator, Nabara, and other areas, 6 o'clock, they will cordon off some roads. It became very difficult here, Edward, for the locals to pass, to go. You will be beaten, you will be humiliated, a lot of things will happen. And most of them decided, we are not going to rent our houses to Dankers. And they know that it is not a secret. Not when it comes to land grabbing, also majority of people who are grabbing land comes from the same ethnic group. Either they are SPLA officers or police officers, etc., etc. I witnessed with my own eyes in Jubanabari, which is popularly known as Tomping. I was passing through and I saw workers there. They were building a house and they were being guided by the police. I think some of you could remember they were police officers who used to dress black and black. All uniform is black. They were the one guarding those workers. That will show you that the land was grabbed by force. I can go on and on and on. Now, yes, there are sons or daughters, Central Equatorian, who are involved in malpractice For instance, selling the same land to 3 different people with the same number for economic reasons. Because after the war, people came to know that, land is a resource and land is valuable investment. Before the war, I guarantee you that I'm quite sure the same thing in Malakal and Guam and other areas. Nobody cares about the land. You can go to the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure, pay like £2 or £5, you can get a plot of piece of land. So it wasn't a problem until 2005. So yes, there's a corruption within the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure and some community members. For instance, in Juba, yes, there are some sons of Bari and some chiefs. They are also involved in this illegal business, and there's evidence to that. But of course, because of the economic hardship, since land has become a resource, you can make money through land. So I think that's why some of them, instead of taking the right procedure, they resorted to shortcut. That's why you are having, or we are seeing what we are seeing today, which is very unfortunate. But also it happens in other areas, not only in Juba, in Quebec, in Torit, in Wow, etc., etc., whereby we have a large number of people, you will have such type of corruption. It is very unfortunate. And regarding the governor and the former mayor, Kalisto, I don't want to say Kalisto is a victim, but because sometimes when you become enthusiastic, or lust for power, so that's the type of things that you get into. Because all of us, we know that Kiev regime is not a democratic regime. And once they appoint you, you were expected to serve their interests, not people's interests. That's why Kalisto stayed only for 8 months, and then he was kicked out. He was used, yes. I read a comment earlier. Somebody said Kalisto was used. Exactly, he was used by the same government who is subservient of Salva Kiir. He used Kalisto, and the same governor kicked him out. So it is very unfortunate, for somebody to use someone from the same community to behave the way Kalisto did. And the other guy, I don't know his name, is Michael or someone like that, to use the same sons of the community, to mistreat their own people. It is very unfortunate. But if you become greedy for power, that's what you get, because Kalisto wanted power, probably. And because before becoming mayor of Juba, he was vocal about the issue of land. And then all of a sudden, he accepted the position of mayor. He started working, but he ended up in a disaster. So it is very unfortunate for the issue with land grabbing to Juba until and unless a legitimate government comes into power, elected from top to bottom, we will continue to see those issues continue, and people will continue to suffer under this current regime because there is no system at all. Now let me address the issue of water plant, because you also mentioned Ethiopians are currently on strike, I think because of increment that has not been implemented or something like that. But yes, I think in one of the rooms, why Ethiopians became the masters, they sacrificed during the civil war, they fought, some of them died, they were operating tanks. It is a fact, nobody can deny it, and I think they are reaping, what they saw in 1980s or 1990s. And in fact, Ethiopia spent a hell of money on SPLM. One day I'm going to do a presentation on it because I have figures, documentation from declassified documents of Ethiopian National Defense Ministry under Mangistu. They have all the documentations. But keep that aside. So that's why Ethiopians, the way they're behaving in Juba is like they own South Sudan. And in fact, technically, you can say yes, they own South Sudan. Because now if a native gets into clashes with an Ethiopian, he will just make a phone call. You will see two pickup trucks filled with soldiers. They will come and mistreat the native, take you away, beat you, whatever. So this is the situation we are in right now. It is very unfortunate, because until we answer the fundamental question, why we went to the ocean in 1983, those atrocities will continue across South Sudan. Regarding the water plant, I think based on my sources, those who I have talked to when I was still in Juba, 5-6, because when I was in the commission, we had a team from JICA. They came with a plan, with a plan to set up water treatment plant in Juba. All of Juba, phase by phase. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Because what is Juba? Juba, how many kilometers square? Yeah, it would. كده تزول بتاع بس كده وريني كده جوا ده كم كيلومتر مربع بس بالحسابات كده يعني. اوكي عشان يدود بعيد من التليفون. انتوا قاعدين تسمعوني يا جماعه؟ ولا انا قاعد نتكلم براي؟ We do hear you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead. Okay, yes, I think, let me assume that Juba is 20 kilometers, 20 square kilometers. I don't know, but let us just assume Juba is 20 square kilometers. So that is nothing to JICA for them to set up water plantation to supply the whole Juba. According to that plan, I had a copy of it, but I misplaced it. By 2016, the whole of Juba town and its suburbs will be supplied with clean drinking water. Nobody will go and fetch water from the River Nile directly, or those tankers will be put out of business. But according to my sources, there are people within the regime that they don't want that to happen. They were and are working against it. They don't want Juba to have clean drinking water like a modern city. For some reasons known to them, I don't want to get into details. Who are they and why are they behaving the way, or why are they against setting up water plantation in Juba? Because it is unimaginable, I cannot imagine a modern city in the 21st century to be supplied by tankers. Even in Africa, I've been to Liberia. Liberia is very poor, very, very poor compared to South Sudan. Even if you look at Rabat International Airport, it's nothing. It's nothing. Malakal Airport is much better than Rabat International Airport. But at least, despite the civil war that took place there, still they have running water. So there is no reason for Juba to be served with tankers. But because, like I said, there are people within the administration, they don't want those things to happen. They want Juba to be supplied with tankers, so that they can make money out of it. That's the whole thing. Those tankers, some of them I understand belongs to some generals and some people in the government, because it is impossible, after 18 years, still you don't have clean drinking water in Juba. Prior to 2005, Juba had clean water in some areas. Yes, some areas like Kador, Tabara, and Uniki, they had no running water, but the old Juba, they had running water. How come that now we have a government of our own and we are unable, to serve people with clean drinking water? So that is very strange, but that is the situation. Finally, let me address the issue of Murle. I'm not going to dwell on it that much because we know it is part of Kill's regime to divide and rule, and to create crisis throughout South Sudan. A week or 10 days ago, we had crisis in Mendara land. And before that could be put off, now in Murle land. And I'm quite sure next week it's going to be somewhere else. So the regime is good in creating crisis. Something like it was said earlier, to divert attention from the failure of the regime. Because if there's no crisis, then people will be thinking of, why are we suffering? Why government is not doing A, B, C, D. To keep them in limbo, so you create crisis. So now the priority will be how to deal with that crisis and how to end it. So I think that's what the regime is doing right now, which is very unfortunate because a government is encouraging communal fighting does not deserve support at all. But of course, we are living in a real world. and احنا عايشين في عالم حقيقي. انت ما ممكن تقول يا اخي ما يكون في مشاكل، لا، هيكون في مشاكل وهيكون في ناس واقفين مع حكومه البلبطال زي ما احنا شايفين. Some people always will support a bad regime. The Germans, a good number of Hitler, despite the fact that the Nazi was committing crimes, atrocities against its own citizens, and not only that, but around the world, invading other countries, breach a violation of international law. But still, some of Germans, they were supporting Hitler. The same thing with Mussolini in Italy, and so forth. So I'm expecting some South Sudanese to support the regime, which is their right. But unfortunately, history will judge them later on. When normality comes back to that country, I think some of us are going to answer. To conclude my remarks, I think all the ills, all the problems that is happening or taking place in South Sudan, it comes back to Kir and him. They are the only entity that can stop this suffering because they have the state power and they have economic power to address those issues. But it's not going to happen because it is their own creation. They created those problems and they want those problems to continue unabated until someone forces them out of office. Let me stop here and give chance to others, and I'm very much available. Thank you, Brother Edward, for this opportunity, and for our listeners, audience, both in Clubhouse and Facebook. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tito. طبعا نمشي لدكتور الحاج عشان بعدك لأنه الفوديوم مليان. ففضل دكتور الهاج. welcome. You can open your mic.
Thank you very much, Rian. Let me first commend Edward and yourselves, Mukenge, Tito, for organizing this room. I think it's a very educative topic. Also, let me greet all the members of the panel and all the listeners who are paying attention to this very, very important topic. I think the geopolitical and geo-economic dynamics in East Africa that is affecting us in South Sudan is a result of a local South Sudanese politics. How these international events are impacting on us is because of our local decisions. And let me say something a little bit as to why the international environment affects us. Because we do not live in a vacuum. We live in an interconnected world, and a world that is now run under global policies. I think the ruling ideology globally now is the neoclassical economic ideologies that are centered around neoliberalism. The basis of neoliberalism is that each and every country makes a profit. Everybody makes a profit. It is based on market. Everything is considered as market space. Countries are considered as markets. And there is an important element that we need to pay attention to, which supports this ideology, is that everything must be deregulated. So when we talk of deregulation, we are actually meaning that removal of laws that protect